Welcome back. Another breakdowns and bets. Brandon and Santino, the lovable duo. We're here. We're ready. We got fights to talk about.
Let's do it. Now,
Man,
first of all, I think we should address that London card as maybe one of the best cards in a long time.
that was a solid ass card.
You know what, though? I'm lying. I didn't actually even get to watch the card. I was working all day, so I'm just speaking conjecture about what everyone else was telling me about the card.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I remember texting you at one point, like, "Hey, are you watching whatever fight it was?" And you're like, "Can't. I'm at work." I was like, "Oh man, that sucks."
I like watch the fights while I'm driving. I know it's super safe, so I have it on, posted here. I'm texting also and driving. It's super safe. It's super legit. So
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. I do the same thing, but I'm gonna let the world in on a secret now. Not you. I have a Tesla, so it has self-driving. So I just put that little, bad boy on and put it right in my little spot, and I'll glance up at the road every once in a while, and then I'm looking down, and it's not a bad gig.
I didn't know I'm co-hosting a podcast with a Democrat.
No, only half Democrat because I also own a gas station. So
Oh,
even though I save all of the money on my Tesla while gas prices are through the roof, well, I lose it all while gas prices are through the roof through my gas station because I'm
it's
losing more
called
money than.
balance.
Yeah, I'm losing more money owning a gas station right now with gas prices than anybody buying gas right now.
All right, now I do. Do we have a sponsor this week?
Yeah, we do. We've got Marshall Rogan Inu. So they're sponsoring us again this week. You guys check them out. They're paying fighters, they're paying media, they're paying podcasters. They are giving a lot of people in MMA a lot of money and are making life a lot easier. So check them out. We've got the link in our notes below, and then of course, check out our Patreon. Brandon you did really great last week with the Bellator and the Cage Warriors bets. Solid go of things. And we give our picks there, and you get access to, more than anything, you guys. If you just want to hang out with us and chat with us, you get the Discord. So you get to chat with us, talk fights, talk money, do dumb shit, post dumb shit, and hang out during the fights as well.
We got a lot of whiz kids in the group. I love it.
Lots of whiz kids. But yeah, that London card, I feel like we just saw a lot of stars. Like people were coming out. Man, Tom Aspinall, I didn't. I was on the fence with that fight last week, and I said, "Yeah, I think it's really close. I think Volkov ends up winning it." And you said, I think it's pretty close. I think Aspinall ends up winning it. Holy shit, man. Aspinall is the truth. Holy hell, man. That guy is the truth. We knew he was good. And I'm on the Aspinall train. I was hyping him up, right before you talked about him. And you were like, whoa, calm down. Don't hype him too much for me. But he just hadn't fought somebody at that level before. And that was just amazing. Amazing performance. And
Yeah,
I don't know,
and
a
you know
heavyweight.
what though? We were having this discussion today. How much do we need to factor in level of competition versus just what we can plainly see with our eyes? I remember popping on a different podcast this week, and I try to really avoid it. And I just remember them saying like, oh, his striking is so basic, and it's like, yeah, but basic is what works. But the things that you don't see or you don't understand is his distance management, his feints, every little intricacy. That's why it's not so basic. I guess basic, you mean ones and twos or boxing. Like, yes, basic is what works and that's what wins fights. But what's not basic is all the intangibles, all those that the range and the feints and how he enters and how he throws off the break. Everyone wanted to dismiss that, the win over Spivak. Man, that was impressive too. An elbow off the break like that. I mean, those are the little parts of the game that rarely do they get filled, those kind of holes. So, great performance. So I've heard. I didn't get to watch it. I heard Topuria went through some troubles,
Yeah.
and we got ridiculed for saying that, yeah, Topuria probably wins this fight, but it's going to be tough sledding maybe a little bit. And it went down
Man,
exactly how we said it was.
yeah, I think he was a minus 700 come fight time. I was like, my brain says Topuria should win, but man, that's a risky fight going up a weight class against Jai Herbert. I'm going to sit that one out. People are like, "Oh, Topuria." He almost died in round 1, which again, and don't get me wrong, he came back, he recovered, he did
He's
great,
good,
great,
man. He's good.
great job. But at -700, like, man, if Jai Herbert just didn't jump in for the kill, he probably could have finished Topuria right there. And Topuria is really that good. Don't get me wrong. But man, at
He's good.
-700, that played out pretty much how we thought it might play out. And no thanks. I mean, that's too close for my likings. And I'm curious to see what happens with Topuria after this because I like him. I like his skill set. He is so reckless. He just doesn't have any defensive like thoughts in his brain.
Now,
I
am I the
wonder.
craziest guy ever for saying that Jourdain probably like had a good chance at winning that fight? Like a guy who's got better chin than Jai Herbert and does more things well than Jai Herbert, is more down to fight and better cardio than Jai Herbert. Am I really that crazy for saying that Charles Jourdain could have won that fight? Doesn't look like it anymore. And not that Topuria is not good, you guys. He's talented, he's good, but he's freaking reckless.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Topuria beats Jourdain, but I think it's one of those ones where, man, Topuria is not concerned about getting hit, and at some point he's going to run into somebody who hits hard enough to put him out. I mean, which is just kind of nuts because he does recover well, but we've seen him get dropped quite a bit, and he recovers, he wrestles, and then he knocks people out. But at some point, you're not going to recover. And you can only take your chin doesn't get better. Like it's not like, oh, when you get knocked
You're
out, you're more
training it.
likely to get yeah, yeah, you're more likely to get knocked out again and again. So man, I like Topuria. I would like to see him use a little bit more defense as he starts climbing up the ranks. Who else did we have?
Meatball Molly.
We had Meatball Molly. She like, oh, Patty the Batty. First of all, I gotta say, my new favorite MMA character on the planet is Paddy Pimblett. If you guys didn't see, he was on. There was a thing. I think UFC.com put it on Instagram, and it was Paddy saying like nursery rhymes, and it was like Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers, and like Betty collects seashells or Shelly, gets seashells down by the seashore, something like that. The best ever. Um, in terms of his fighting, oh man, I like Pimblett. I want to see him do well, but gosh, he has got to round out his wrestling. His jiu-jitsu game is really solid. His
It's good.
striking, it's very solid. His striking game leaves a lot to be desired. But more than anything, his wrestling, jiu-jitsu doesn't do you any good if you can't get the fight to the ground. And he's really got to work that ground game, or I'm sorry, the wrestling game, the cage wrestling game. And he has been. He was over with Justin Flores quite a bit in San Diego, in between camps and stuff. Who's a judo guy and also wrestled in college. Really, really solid guy. But Patty needs a lot more of that once he starts getting up those ranks. Because again, man, Damian Maia doesn't do any good if he can't get the fight to the ground. We've seen that again and again and again. When he gets the fight to the ground, phenomenal. But man, Patty's got to make sure he gets that fight to the ground. And if he can't, life gets hard.
And I doubt he's ever going to have that crazy D1 wrestling. Like, I mean, that's just something that's he missed the boat on that. And so, similarly to Damian Maia, now he's going to have to learn how to do it for himself, learn how to funk wrestle, learn how to do trips. I hate to say pull guard, but Damian Maia would pull guard a lot of times and then come back up. He's going to have to figure out how it works for his body. But, I think the good news for him is that, the UFC, it's very clear. Him and Sean O'Malley are on different paths than most other people, right? They're on different paths than a Jack Shore who fought Timur Valiev. They had him paired up with Umar, with Hunter, with all kinds of like just tough fights. So Jack Shore looked great. There was a lot of great performances. Unfortunately, Grundy let me down.
Man, Grundy, I think, was a big, kind of loser of the night. And I still think you've got to pick that pick 10 out of 10 times because I think he's a better fighter. And I think he just made a really, really, really bad mistake, shot with his head on the outside. Man, Mcmann has really good chokes. What do you do? How do so. All right, well,
Is what it is.
let's get into this week's card. And actually, even before we do, man, I gotta, for you guys that don't subscribe to MMA Tape Index, go subscribe. If you want to watch fights, go to MMATapeIndex.com. I think is what, $2.99, $3.99 a month.
Yeah, it's like $3.
Yeah, something like that. If you guys don't follow MMA Lock of the Night, man, he is, runs a lot of breakdowns. He's the reason why I am here doing breakdown shows, but he runs MMA Tape Index. We don't get money for this or anything. He's just a solid guy and runs a really, really,
We
really
should though.
solid.
We need to be like more commercial. Like we need to be getting every little thing we can.
I know, true. But he runs Lock of the Night runs MMA Tape Index, and he really gives a good breakdown of just links to every fight known to man for every card. So if you guys want to watch tape, that's where you go. And who do we have up number one? I think we have our guy Luis Saldana against Bruno Souza, and this is the first fight of the night. Luis trains with me. Um, he's trained with me since before his contender fight. Actually, Brian from Sucker Punch actually got him on the contender before he even signed with Sucker Punch. It was just, he was like, hey, here, if he wants this, it's his. If he wants to sign with us, we think that'd be super cool. But he gets his contender series contract with or without signing with us. But Luis has been with us for a while. Bruno fought, was actually training out in Arizona at Fight Ready. Gosh, maybe a week before he got that last minute call, for his UFC debut.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was actually there with us I think he was there for 3 or 4 days, and then he actually got the call while he was in Arizona and then ended up flying out
How'd
to
he
fight on
look?
that card. Um, I mean, he looked like Bruno. First of all, when you see
Runs?
Bruno,
He was just on the treadmill the entire time?
yeah, just running. But actually, it's funny because Bruno's like my height, weight, frame, ish. His head is 4 times the size of my head, 7 times, 10 times. That thing it's huge. Like, imagine if my head were this big. I can't even fathom it, but super nice guy, really
He's
nice
got
guy,
the
really
body of a
respectful.
flyweight and the head of a heavyweight. And so he
Yeah.
evens out somewhere in the middle.
But, usually I don't like talking about my guys, and I'm not going to get into this one. This is actually an interesting stylistic fight. Luis is one of the slickest, smoothest strikers there is out there. Really, really clean. And Bruno is super evasive, a Machida guy running. This is actually a fun clash of styles. I mean, it's not a clash of styles, but it's a fun stylistic matchup because they're both slick strikers that aren't going to be in your face swinging, going crazy. And there also probably isn't going to be a ton of grappling going on. So it really is kind of a chess match of striking that I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Okay, well, I'll speak a little bit on this one, and I kind of try to steer away from this one too, mostly because a Bruno fight is a really really tough fight to gauge, because Bruno does almost nothing. Like he's always running, 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 doing almost nothing. And if anybody I thought was going to put him out, it was going to be Melsick. I think Melsick's a very, very, very good striker, and he's very aggressive. I think I said, "Oh, Melsick's going to chase him down and put him to sleep," and that never happened in that fight, right?
And I said the
So
opposite. I said Melsick's going to win, but Bruno is going to do so little and run that
well, aren't you the
I think
smartest
it's
man on earth then? God, what do
pretty
you want?
much, pretty much, pretty much.
Go leave a comment. Tell me how stupid I am.
I'm
Um,
going to go sign up for
so
Mensa right now.
yeah. So, here's the deal with this fight. I think, and this is not going to be the only one on this card that actually has this kind of theme, but I think that Bruno is already at a disadvantage just from the style that he fights, right? So when the rule set in MMA, it favors people who move forward and have octagon control. And then you have one guy that's constantly, constantly, constantly backing up. And he's not a huge grappler, not a great wrestler by any means. I think he's a jiu-jitsu brown belt or black belt, but what does that really even mean? Yeah, you're right. It's a kickboxing match, just like we saw with Melsick. And it's okay. Is Lou's strikes bigger? Are they heavier? Do they look better for the judges, or are the counter strikes going to be there all night? And so I would say Lou already has a step up just by the style of fights where he's going to walk him down. He's controlling the center. So that already is a ding in his corner. I think Lou's got great punches. I think he's got great counter punches. He's a very, very slick striker. So honestly, this play would be purely on just the style of fight. So first of all, I think over 1.5 is lock, 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 lock. You can put that in a parlay and feel pretty good about that. And then second, I think I like Lou for the win here. And I'm not being a homer or biased. I've never met Lou. I don't know Lou. I just like the style of fighting in this one. long punches on the outside, just backing up versus advancing. Again, we got the advantage there.
We got to remember with this card, just not only with this fight, but for all of them, is that there's a crowd. It's in Columbus, Ohio. So I think that's going to play into a lot of these fights, especially a fight like this where there's probably going to be a lot of inaction and there's going to be possibly some boos during the inaction and then some cheering when something happens, which that alone can sway some judges, if it's really close.
Have you ever been to Ohio?
Yes, I have.
I've never seen so many fat people in my life in one place in my whole entire life. So if that capacity there is like 12,000 or 15,000, I imagine they'll only get to fit about 8,000 of those Vienna sausages in that arena.
What?
So
Are you trying to piss people off? Like, what?
I'm a Bengals fan. Does that
Oh
mean
my
anything?
gosh. It means nothing. All right, next up. All right, we've got Mateus Nicholau. And it's funny. It's like I'm becoming a caricature of myself with these names. David Dvorak. I mean, is that how you say that? In a flyweight, right? I think these guys are flyweights. Yes, 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 yes,
Yep.
yes. And man, Dvorak, 20-3. This dude has not lost since 2012. I mean, this is 10 years this guy has not lost. I mean, it's like a decade of fighting. I mean, who's even started in 2012 at this point? Who's still going at this point? And then on the other side, we've got Mateus, who has not lost since he fought Dustin Ortiz in 2018. I love Dvorak, and I don't want to say I love him. I don't want to say I love him. It's not like I'm like
Why
in
you
love
love
with
him?
his movement and his striking, or is this some exciting guy? He just does so much stuff well. He's not amazing at anything. He almost reminds me of Arnold Allen, okay? Not the Arnold Allen that's knocking Dan Hooker out in like 3 minutes, Arnold Allen, but the Arnold Allen before that, who's just he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. High guard, on balance, throws his jab, sways in and out, finds the punches. He really does a good job of reading while he's in the fight right then and there, and he pulls distance well. Does a good. The other thing I really like about him is he actually sprawls. We don't see that as much anymore in MMA. We see people kind of, somebody shoots, they kind of whizzer, wrist control, keep their balance enough to run until they fall to the cage, and then they start cage wrestling on a defensive level. He will throw fiery punches and then mid combination hard sprawl with a sense of urgency, come back up, scramble, and keep that going, which I really like. We just don't see that much anymore. Or you see people just swinging, let the takedown occur, and then pop back up. On the other side of that, we have Mateus, who jiu-jitsu is really solid. I mean, you have to love his jiu-jitsu. The thing that worries me about Mateus is that I think his striking is good. It's fine. It's adequate. When things don't go his well in the striking department, he tends to wear it a lot on his face. It's almost like he looks the part, he sells the part, he's in your face, he's throwing, and then when he starts to lose it in the striking battle, especially if he's not able to get the takedowns, then you see him just kind of like wearing it on his face. He looks concerned. Who do you have in this fight?
Okay, well, there's a couple of things I want to point out here. So first of all, David Dvorak, 20-3. Okay, he has had maybe the easiest 20 wins in the history of MMA. So I was actually looking at his record the other day. So he's a Czech Republic guy. Okay, and if you guys know Octagon, I spend a lot of time with Octagon. It's the most backwards, crazy promotion ever. They pump their guys and they put them against people from the stands, and sometimes they still find ways to lose. It is insane. They got guys with losing records as minus 300 favorites. It's bananas. Octagon, great production though. So let's look at David Dvorak. Okay, so last win was against Juan Camilo Ronderos, who was 4-0 at the time and was horrible and fat. He beat Jordan Espinoza, who almost beat himself in that fight. He's just running all over the place, and just one guy just stood there and just looked more stoic and landed jabs and low kicks and won the fight pretty easily that way. And then he beat Bruno Silva. And Bruno Silva, I've spent a lot of rounds with Bruno. Something to me, I just rewatched that fight. Something looked off in that fight, and I don't know really what it was. I know there was an opponent change and all kinds of stuff, but Bruno's style a lot of times is predicated on somebody trying to kill him. Right, he keeps his hands down, and he's almost baiting you to throw on him. And when when you throw on him, that's when he counters, and that's why he looks so great against Tagir and a lot of these other people. And the problem in that fight was Dvorak never throws. Dvorak will stand right in front of you, and he doesn't do anything. Nothing. He just stands there, high guard, and just keeps walking forward, and he does nothing. And eventually he'll throw a jab and a jab and a jab. And I think the problem in that fight was that Bruno was just outsized, to be honest. I mean, he was getting walked down the entire time. That being said, it was a very close fight. Bruno got 3 takedowns. He had his moments, but Dvorak was just kind of there. And then, I think a lot of people are going to want to talk about his pre-UFC and say, "Oh yeah, but he beat a guy who was 16-2 before he got to the UFC." Well, let's click on Mr. 16-3. Okay. His last win before Dvorak was 0-0, 0-0, 2-4, no record, 1-0, 0-1, 5-0, no record, 0-3, 1-1, 0-0. He lost to a guy 2-1. So it's like all of his fights are with guys with no fights. So yeah, he's got a 16-0 record against people who had never even fought again. So once you do a little digging into the layers, like I don't think, we talked about level of competition, but I don't think it's there. And then skills wise, I'm watching him and I just don't see much. You're right. He's on balance because he doesn't throw enough punches to be off balance. He throws a jab every so often. He got taken down. It's not like he's some phenomenal wrestler. And he's from a rural place in the Czech Republic. And, I don't need to go like too crazy and die on the Mateus Nicholau hill here, but I think Mateus has a lot more skills. I think he's got a great calf kick. I think he showed in his fight against Tim Elliott, he's got great hands when he started turning it on and mixing in the body shots, going to the head. I think he can wrestle when he really needs to. And I think his jiu-jitsu is excellent. And I think the difference, the difference, from this and the Bruno fight is Bruno's small. Guys, Bruno's like 5 foot nothing. He's tiny. Mateus Nicolau's my size. He's 5'7". He's, or 5'6". He's a big flyweight. I still think that Dvorak is going to walk him down and kind of back him up and bully him. But I think the counterpunching of Mateus Nicholau is going to be huge. I think the wrestling is going to be huge. And I think we see kind of a dominant victory from Nicholau. Nicholau's level of competition is completely different than Dvorak's, right? He beat Tim Elliott, who you guys are in love with now because he just beat Tagir, right? He beat Manel Kopp, and say Manel Kopp won that fight. I think so too. But either way you want to look at it, it was close enough where 2 judges that night in that arena said you won that fight, and now Manel is looking phenomenal, right? His first UFC run, he beat John Moraga. He beat Bruno Correa, who I think is phenomenal. Luis Smolka. He was beating guys at 135 on Brazilian Ultimate Fighter. He's good, man. You guys are overlooking Mateus Nicholau. I think he's got all the skills in the world. I think Dvorak just does so much of nothing. And this is a very long-winded answer. I like Nicholau a lot here.
Okay, it's funny because that's why I think Dvorak is probably going to get the win. That's why I disagree, because I think Mateus does really well when people are there. It's almost like you were saying with Bruno. Like when people will fight Bruno, he does better against those guys. When they don't do a lot, it's hard to fight those guys that don't give you the openings. And when a fight is so boring, it's like the Bruno Souza one. When so little happens, whoever does anything is who is going to end up getting the judge's decision. And I think Dvorak, he moves away and disengages pretty well. And I wish I knew. I'm assuming this is a smaller cage because it's not a pay-per-view. But since there is a crowd, I'm wondering if it's bigger than the Apex cage, which is just tiny.
All they can fit
So
in that arena with all the fat people is a small cage. So that answers your question.
So I think that will play. But I think Dvorak he's just solid. I think he's technically sound. He has not fought the level of competition that Mateus Nicholau has by any means. But I think Mateus he's sloppy and loopy in his punches. And I don't think he's a bad striker, but I think his striking is predicated on really just throwing versus being really clean. And I think Dvorak is so just technically sound on his striking that it's going to be hard to really land those good shots on the inside. So
All right. Well, we're splitting apart on this one.
We are splitting this one. Um, Next up, who's next up? Who do we got? Oh, Jennifer Maia, Manon Fiorot, Fiorot. Uh, tell us
You want to try
about.
a couple more times? Oh,
I'll get it
Manon.
eventually. Manon.
I don't know if there's much to say here. I think Manon is amazing. You guys know I'm in love with her. She is just aggressive. She's nasty. She's mean. She moves in and out and gauges distance so well. I think I haven't even seen this. People making a case for Jennifer Maia, and I worry that people are overlooking Jennifer Maia in this matchup. But I just think Jennifer Maia's fight IQ is just so horrible, and her strikes come from all the way from Brazil. You see them coming. And I think Manon, just the thing that she does the best is gauge distance. Eventually, we're going to have to see her grappling, like for real, see her grappling. I just don't know that it's this fight. And when I say that Jennifer Maia has bad fight IQ, I mean, could you have worse fight IQ than getting 30-27 in your first fight, or maybe it was 29-28. She got a takedown against Caitlin Chukagian, and then coming out and doing the exact same thing you did in the rounds that you lost in the first fight. You didn't try to wrestle. You didn't try to do anything. That just tells me that somebody going in there just saying, all right, let's just see how this goes. There's no game planning. There's no film study. There's nothing there. And, I think we're going to get the bigger, the more physical, the faster, the cleaner Manon Fiorot here. The price tag's high, so you're going to have to decide if that's for you. But, admittedly, I didn't freshen up my tape for this one, but I think this is a don't overthink it. I know how good Manon is.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually watching Maia. She actually has a really solid skill set. It's her
Yeah.
fight IQ that gets her in trouble, and she does all of the right stuff that you want to see on a striking perspective. I mean, almost all. I'll get to the stuff that I don't like, but I mean, her hands are glued to her face. She's always moving her head offline. She actually inches away on angles with her feet. She's never just staying stationary. She really moves well. She has a really good overhand. Her top control is great. I mean, we saw that with Shevchenko. She got on top of Shevchenko, and I mean, Shevchenko couldn't get up. Strong hips. I mean, she really does all of the stuff that you want to see. On a striking side, what she doesn't do well is she takes turns, and she takes turns with taller fighters who are throwing punches. She blocks it and then fires, but she's too far away. She needs to be punching as they punch, coming in, crashing, shooting under them, and going. And she actually has a good little overhand right. And we've seen Manon get hit, a couple of times with overhands. Gosh, I have to pull up who it was. Hit her. It was her first UFC fight. Leonardo hit her with a couple good overhands. And Fiorot is always, almost always, she's a southpaw, okay? And she's almost always circling to her left, which normally you wouldn't always want to do. You want to mix it up as southpaw, but she does a really good job. She almost always, her combo is a 1-2-1 or a 1-2-3, and then she'll finish with a 1. And she jabs out of almost everything, which makes it really hard for her opponents to counter. And with Maia, when she throws that 1-2 and then hits that jab on the exit, that's really going to stifle Maia's return. And then, of course, she throws that side kick. And Maia, we saw it twice now with Chukagian. She doesn't know how to close the distance. She doesn't really know how to get on the inside. And now if Maia can get on top of Fiorot, man, that life can get pretty hard, pretty fast, pretty tricky there.
Heavy
But
ass.
yeah, but Fiorot, I mean, she's strong, she's physical, she's good in the clinch, and she is just a tank of a human. So I think it's going to be a 3-round, decision kind of thing because Maia's durable. I think over 1.5 is a solid play here. I think Manon gets the win, and yeah, I think and I think Maia again is so much better than she fights. She has such a higher skill set than fight IQ, and I
Her
think she could.
boxing's clean. She has, yeah.
She has all the tools. She just doesn't mix them together as effectively as she could.
Alrighty. So next up, we have Alishkab Kirezav and Dennis Tiuliulin.
Man, say that one time fast, let alone 5 times. Man,
I said it
Ali
one time
Ash
very fast.
yeah,
Tiuliulin.
Ali Ashcab, that's as much as you're getting out of me in words. First of all, this dude has had 1,000 canceled bouts. I mean, he won the Contender Series. I don't know why all of these bouts were canceled, but man, he had 1, 2, 3, 4 canceled bouts from his Contender Series win to Dennis Tiuliulin or whatever his name is. Uh, and I can understand why. I mean, who in the hell wants to fight this dude? I mean, he's just in his Contender Series fight, got a body lock, threw a grown ass man, a big giant man to the ground, choked him out like 50 seconds. Husamar Paul Harris, uh, it's kind of a far distance. He threw that head kick. It almost kind of rocked him. And Husamar may or may not be insane, but he was attacking the legs. Husamar was. He did a really good job of getting out of there. Gosh, how the hell Alishkab did. Scrambled like crazy, came out, threw some good ground and pound, solid wrestling, physical as hell. You want to talk about, kind of strength of schedule is Dennis Tiuliulin. First of all, it's hard to find a lot of his fights. A lot of the links weren't working. I couldn't get the videos to work. So I did not get to watch as much tape on him as I wanted to. All right. But let's take a look at his record a little bit.
Oh, jeez.
He's 10-5. All right. So he lost, let's see. All right. So he won his last fight against a guy who was 11-2. All right, great. He lost to a guy who was 9-1, beat a 7-9 guy, an 0-0 guy, 0-11, lost to a 9-3, beat an 0-0. I mean, like, come on. Like, this is like he has not beaten a lot of guys. Now, the one of the few fights that I could really watch was back in 2018. It was against Nikita Shamov. Did you see that one?
I watched actually the newer ones. We got an update on Tape Index today, so I watched
Okay.
the new ones.
Okay, I was watching that Nikita Shamov fight, all right? And that was, I mean, hey, he won round 1, whatever. That was too close of a fight, and that guy Nikita Shamov was 0-0 at the time. So I mean, like, that was too competitive of a fight for these guys. Again, I didn't see a lot of tape on him, but I don't have a lot of faith from what I saw and looking at his record. Am I crazy here? Did you see something newer that changes, that's different than my perspective?
No, not at all. And you know what? I was looking for every reason to take this guy because you know what? I know he lives in Vegas. He's Sean Strickland's training partner, and if he wasn't Sean Strickland's punching bag, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I think that's the whole deal. He's the only guy stupid enough and dumb enough to just go in there and just get abused by Sean Strickland. I mean, watching his striking, I know he's not winning rounds against Strickland. He's not out wrestling Strickland. He's not knocking Strickland out. I know how those rounds are going just by watching the film, and it's not for him. I'm sorry. He's just the only guy that's tough enough to stand in there. Um, I really wanted to be a hater on this Askarov pick because I see everybody on it, but there's no reason not to go that one here.
Yeah.
Dennis is 33 years old. He is tall, but he's been taken down in every single fight against Ikram Alishkarov. Okay. We actually just bet him on Eagle FC against Nishon Burrell. And Burrell's good, ultra veteran, solid guy. But I'm sorry. Oh, God, jeez. How do I say his name? Ikram. He had about 6 minutes of gas in him. And he just grinded and Dagestani Nishon Burrell, who was also very, very tired. And it was a close fight. It's not like he's some cardio freak. He's a solid wrestler, and he looked great in that fight. But once Dennis fought off the first takedown and he ended up standing up, takedown 2 and 3, he was out. He was laying on his back. He was getting mounted. He was just getting destroyed, beat up. He's getting tagged on the feet. I thought, okay, this is going to be a really good Russian wrestler, and that is not the case here. Asharararab, he's aggressive. He sticks in your face. He throws bombs. I don't think that Dennis has enough power to knock him out. I'm not in love with Asharab's wrestling, to be honest. I haven't seen a lot of chain wrestling. It's him. He's usually getting it on the first go, and it's against guys that are pulling guard. So it's not that I'm saying he's a bad wrestler. I just don't think we've seen enough of it, and I don't see him going to option 2 and option 3. Honestly, because he just really hasn't needed to. But I think this is an easy one here. I like pretty easily. Probably by a finish here.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Now, the real question, since they're both Russian, and Russians are hated by everyone in the world right now with this Ukraine thing, who are the people in Columbus, Ohio going to boo for more?
That's the time that they take their break and go get a family meal from McDonald's and come back to the arena.
Got it. Got it. Got it. All right, moving along. Moving along. Man, this is a fun fight. Badgerel Danaa, and Chris Gutierrez. We have seen both these guys quite a bit now in the UFC. I mean, not a crazy amount, but Danaa's first fight was against Haley Atalong, who's with us, and then he lost that close decision, and he was probably 1-1 going into the third, and then Haley out wrestled him in the third, and got the win. Then he knocked out Guido Canetti, Kevin Natividad, and Brandon Davis. All three of them in a row look good. On the other side, we have Gutierrez, who is 17-3. Is on a kind of a 5-fight win streak with a draw with Cody Durden in the middle of that. And then a loss to Raoni Barcelos, who, there's no shame in that. Raoni's as solid as they come. Gutierrez has the movement, moves around. He has good footwork. He has good low kicks. I like the way he sets up his kicks well. He frames his knees, he shows the kicks, he moves inside, outside, lots of calf kicks, and he mixes them up, throws them up high. Where he gets in trouble is where you were talking about a little bit earlier. One is volume. Round one volume, he almost always gives away he's almost guaranteed to lose round one just for nothing more than he just forgets to fight. He's a slow starter. So that's something you always hear his coaches in the corner in between round 1 and 2 saying, we need more, we need a volume, we need to go first, we need to press. And then he generally listens well and adjusts well. The other thing I see with Gutierrez, a couple knocks. One, of course, is wrestling. He does not have great wrestling, and he will stay on his back for longer than he should, which usually he'll find his way back up, but
But it takes 2-3 minutes.
Yes, but it's not like he's trying to get up for 2 or 3 minutes. He's playing the ground for 2 or 3 minutes, and then when he decides to get up, he's usually not bad at it. So is that. But I think the biggest issue with him with this specific fight is his hands up. I'm sorry, he reaches with his hands, chin up when people press him. When people box and swing at him, he goes straight back, chin up, reaches, and is out of there. Now, a lot of the time, he creates a space and he either hits the cage or he moves off. But he actually gets really tall on the cage too. Like he will naturally lean on that cage, get tall, and move laterally, which I personally don't like because if somebody happens to throw, say, a head kick or a punch, you can't move backwards. That cage is there. The cage is in your way. Danaa on the other side, it's funny. He's a kickboxer before he was even a wrestler. But you wouldn't really know it too much because he doesn't really kick a lot. He swings. He throws a lot of leather. He's in your face and he throws a lot. He doesn't kick a lot, but he actually does check kicks, which is, if you didn't know that his background was in kickboxing, you'd say this guy's kind of a boxer brawler. And then you see him checking the kicks as he does, which is actually pretty impressive. His wrestling defense is actually pretty good as well. Cardio, I don't see any issues with that. And he's got good power. I think this is a close fight. And this fight comes down to, can Danaa get inside without eating too many low kicks and box Gutierrez up into that chin? And I think it's going to be a close fight. And I think I have Danaa winning. Maybe he gets a finish. I haven't seen Gutierrez hurt. I don't think I've seen him hurt, like really battered and bruised and beaten. But he gives up so much volume. Outside of those low kicks, man, his volume is so low that, especially with his chin up and in the way that he reaches back like that, I could see Danaa landing enough to really sway the judges and maybe even getting a takedown.
I'm with you. So here's where I'm at with this one. I like Chris Gutierrez a lot. I bet him the last few fights. He's won for me. I went to bat for him, against Kolaris, And that fight, watching it back, was super, super disappointing. I mean, he went to split decision with Felipe Colares. That was a fight that he should have shined in. Colares has about the worst hands in the UFC. I mean, he just holds him like a freaking zombie. His kicks are decent. He's huge. He does, he's a tough guy, and he'll hang in there. And he's got decent jiu-jitsu. It's just all over the place. But stylistically, I mean, that was a tailor-made matchup for Gutierrez, right? A guy who's going to plod forward, who doesn't have much in the way of hands to just tee off on. And that's not really how the fight went. I mean, it was a very, very close fight. And obviously, he won by split decision. And then we look at the Andre Ewell fight. I did not rewatch that one for this, but, Ewell is naturally a counter fighter. And I think he took it to Ewell, but, that's two counter fighters, and we're going to see, right? He got a draw with Cody Durden, which I actually think he won that fight. I think a 10-8 for holding someone's back and not punching is a bit extreme, but nonetheless, he got his back taken by a 25er and held for an entire round and sacrificed it, right?
And that was
On
a last
short
minute
notice.
fight. That was supposed to be actually the Luke Sanders fight, and then Luke had some issues. Going into that fight camp, wasn't able to make the fight.
Yep. And then he beat Vince Morales, who is definitely better than his record. We'll give Vince Morales props, but he's very, very heavy on the lead foot. He's a plodding style. He's always coming forward. He's heavy on the lead foot. Again, tailor-made for the leg kicks. And then he has a split decision over Geraldo de Freitas, which I remember watching that fight back. I didn't think he won the fight. Most people did not think he won that fight. I think Geraldo's good, very, very good. I thought Geraldo won that. And then he beat a Ryan McDonald, who was 10-0 at the time. But if you look at his record, 5-4, 7-9, 10-8, 16-9, 10-7, 2-2, 6. I mean, he's just beating nobodies, right? So Ryan McDonald probably not as good as his record. Then lost to Rayoni. He beat Ray Rodriguez, Jimmy Flick. I mean, we're just kind of going back in his record. But I guess what I'm trying to say is he's got a lot of names on his record, but a lot of these are like perfect stylistic matchups. Very rarely has he fought somebody who's got good hands, who's going to stalk forward. And just like we talked about in the first fight, he's naturally going to be at a disadvantage. I mean, the reason he's having such close fights with guys that are honestly not as good as him, I mean, he's very talented, is because of his style. He's backing up, he's low volume. And now the judges are like, okay, do we give the guy who's got the slick counter punching or the guy who controlled the octagon and threw punches the whole time? And the one thing I know about Danaa is Danaa comes forward, he swings hard, his punches look great for the judges, and he's got tons of power. Exactly like you said, Chris reaches for a lot of punches. So, I mean, honestly, I could see a Danaa knockout. I really like Danaa just as a winner here. His hands are so much cleaner. He just seems so much sharper. And you hit it with the wrestling too. Maybe one of them is going to try to show us something in the grappling department. I wrestled with Haley not that long ago. Haley can wrestle. Haley is a very, very good wrestler. I was feeling my oats thinking I can wrestle my ass off, and he sunned me, right? And to see Danaa up every 3 seconds with him and doing the right things and making the right movements, I think, and we don't have a lot of footage on it, but I think his fight IQ is there. I really like stylistically the matchup, just good, clean hands, powerful strikes. All that stuff looks good for the judges. Cage control, just the willingness to stand in the pocket, and he can eat some bombs. So, and like you said, I didn't see a lot of checks, but I did see a cross leg check, which is something we don't really see a lot in the UFC. Somebody checking across their body. So I like Danaa here. I like Danaa a lot here.
Yeah, I think this fight, like I said a minute ago, it really comes down to those leg kicks. Can Danaa check a couple of those kicks, but not only the outside low kick. I'm actually more interested in the inside low kick. I'm curious if he can check those inside low kicks and not get kicked off balance as he presses forward. And we actually saw it a little bit in the Guido fight, where Guido started moving quite a bit, or was moving early, and Danaa actually had a little bit of a hard time. Not a hard time, but you could tell that it took a little bit of a feeling out process to kind of catch Guido. Once Guido started planting, of course, then it was all Danaa. Gutierrez
Is Guido the better Chris Gutierrez?
he's definitely not the better Chris Gutierrez. I think he's a poor man's
Well, why
Chris
do we say that? He
Gutierrez.
throws hard kicks. He throws hard kicks and punches. He throws with conviction. He actually throws more volume.
Yeah, but Chris Gutierrez's footwork is so much better. His kicks are so much slicker. His placement and his timing is so much better. Gutierrez is infinitely better than Guido Canetti. He's got a better chin. He's younger, better cardio. I think Gutierrez is a solid fighter, but you hit it earlier. Is he lets these fights be too close with his style, and if he would just pinpoint, set his feet a little bit, throw a little bit more volume right off the bat, and I think these fights wouldn't be as close as they are. Um,
It's funny. He throws a ton of leg kicks to start the fight, and then he forgets about him for another 2 rounds, and then he starts throwing him again right at the very end
yep.
when he needs to try and win it. And it's like, man, if he would just set up a game, the part that drives me nuts about the Factory X guys, you have one of the smartest guys in MMA and Dustin Jacoby, just in my opinion, just everything that I've seen, all the film that I've watched, Dustin Jacoby's fight IQ is there. He works leg kicks from the opening bell to the closing bell. He does what he needs to do to get the win. He's back up on his feet. It's like, why wouldn't you pull that guy aside and say, hey, what can I do better? Well, use that veteran influence. If Chris Gutierrez fought like Dustin Jacoby, we'd be having a very different conversation about him. We'd say he's going to smoke Danaa. But because he makes these little mistakes, staying on his back too long, forgetting, giving up rounds, doing these things, now the conversation's different. It's like this random Mongolian guy is going to come beat him. And that makes me sad for Chris because he is so talented when he
Yeah.
wants to turn it on.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of times, I mean, you've heard me say this a lot. The better fighter doesn't always win. And we see it so often that the better fighter doesn't always win. Sometimes, more often than not, just the dude who lets his balls hang out and is just swinging ends up walking away with a win. But all right,
Yeah.
next up we've got. I'm pulling it up. Sarah Mcmann and Carol Rosa. Now, I meant to pre-qualify. I meant to have a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. A few of these fights I'm not going to give picks for. I don't know if I'm going to give a pick on this one, but there's a few of them that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to analyze, and then you people out there have got to decide who you're going to pick, as it goes. And the reason I say this, a lot of these fights are coin tosses, and I could look really smart on just flipping a coin or look dumb or whatever, but I don't want to give you guys a false impression of what I think. I want to. This is one of those fights that I think is a very close fight, which I'll get into in a minute. But a lot of these fights on the card, I mean, there's one factor that you basically flip a coin on and you see who wins. If you get it right, you don't get to. I mean, if I got some of these right, I'm not going to say, "Hey, I said it," blah blah blah. It's like, well, that could have gone either way. Um, this, I think, is one of those fights. Sarah Mcmann. All right, I will give a winner on this one, but some of the ones later. Sarah Mcmann, of course, silver medalist wrestling. Uh, Spotty record in her last few fights. She's 12-6, but she's fighting good people. She's fighting Juliana Pena. Looked really good in the first 2 rounds. Got clipped round 3. Submitted. Won Lena Linsberg. Lost to Marion Renault.
She didn't
Ketlin.
get clipped round 3. She actually got taken down.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. She got taken down, body lock, just got kind of body lock thrown and then beat up. And then, you're right. I was thinking Marion Renault dropped her. Sorry. So Marion Renault dropped her and then triangle choked her. Ketlin Vieira, arm triangle choke, and then she won a couple fights before that, whatever. She's kind of win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 2, whatever. 41 years old, a physical specimen. She's a beast. You know what I mean? And her boxing, I don't want to say it's good, but it's not bad. She throws hard. She throws punches. The thing that's bad about her boxing, though, is almost always it's a 1-2, which isn't bad. Whatever. I'm just saying what it is. She throws that 2, and she gets off balance off her lead leg. And she's almost always falling off to her left after she throws that big overhand. She doesn't throw a cross. It's not straight. It's an overhand, almost always. I like her physicality. I like Sarah Mcmann. I like her skill set. I like her physicality. I love her wrestling. What I don't like is her inconsistency. And on the other side of that, we've got Rosa. All right. Who is solid? I mean, she's gotten better and better and better. She's got a really good left middle kick. Her hands are crisp, they are clean. She mixes up her combos well. We haven't seen her defensively wrestle. I mean, we've seen her stop a couple of shots from some subpar wrestlers, but she does the right thing. We haven't seen anybody really good wrestle her, but when we have seen the few times that she's defended shots, she drops her hips, squares up. She even gut wrenching a little bit, slides off to the side. I like what I've seen, even though we've seen so little. We've seen her offensively wrestle quite a bit, which leads me to believe that she is decent at defensive wrestling and maybe decent at getting back up. Generally, with women who are built like her, big, big, big hips, if they get put on their back, generally they are not popping back up quickly. And that is what worries me in this fight. And that's the biggest thing. Striking goes to Rosa. I would say fight IQ goes to Carol Rosa from what we've seen. Sarah Mcmann worries me because I don't know what I'm going to get out of her. She's so good, but she can find a way to lose. It's like she will find a way to lose, man. Don't let her get ahead on the cards because, man, she will lose when it comes down to it. And Rosa doesn't. She does a really good job at stuff. What we haven't seen, though, is Rosa on her back, and that's a big unknown. I don't want to talk about unknowns because we don't know. I can only talk about what I've seen, and I've seen good decisions out of Rosa. I've seen offensive wrestling out of Rosa. I've seen a good physical person out of Rosa, and I've actually seen her body transform a little bit from that big kind of pear-shaped hip girl who came into the UFC. She's leaned down a little bit on her lower half, and she's actually gotten a little bit more muscular on her upper body. Uh, I think I like Rosa here. Sarah Mcmann should win. Like, Sarah Mcmann should get the takedown and beat this girl up and control her for 3 rounds, just based on her skill set and her physicality. But I don't know that it'll happen. Mcmann gets tired. Round 1, she always looks great. Round 2, she starts shooting from China, and then she starts getting countered. And then round 3, she starts getting desperate, and then she's taken down. I think the over round and a half is kind of the play here. I don't know if I really, really, really want to give a winner because it should be Sarah Mcmann based on skill set, but fight IQ and everything else tells me that Carol Rosa is probably going to win this fight.
I agree with you 100%. And I'm actually a little bit mad at you because usually we take turns and you started the last 7 in a row. And this was the one that I wanted to talk about because I was going to say everything that you just said. Um, man, what drives me nuts about Sarah McMahon, I would always hear about her accolades. I'm like, this girl could go be the UFC champion. I mean, she's the only one in the whole division that can wrestle. And you're right. This betting this fight to me is only on unknowns. And that's, if we're watching just what we've seen on film, the easy money, the easy bet is Carol Rosa, right? She's got a good snappy jab. She's got tons of volume. This fight is set up for her to win the fight. But that being said, and this is unknown. So I could look like a total idiot because we just talk about her thighs. She's got these big thighs. And the part that's even more troubling than the thighs to me is the brown belt. I hate people that are brown and black belts because brown and black, especially Brazilian brown and black belts, Brazilian brown and black belts love to try to show you how good their jiu-jitsu is, right? Especially off their back. And it's because they're submitting a bunch of white belts in the gym. So they're like, okay, I can hit an arm bar. I know she's been submitted a lot, right? I know Sarah McMahon has been submitted a lot, but she's been competing a lot more in grappling. She's really taken a liking to the jiu-jitsu and side of things. It's harder to submit an Olympic silver medalist, a very strong physical woman, as she's punching you in the face in front of a crowd of people than it is a white belt on a Tuesday night in jiu-jitsu class while you're wearing a gi. It's just the truth of the matter. And, I am not impressed at all with Carol Rosa's level of competition. Now, her skills, they look fine. She's a good, but she beat Betch Correia. She beat Jocelyn Edwards, who is the worst wrestler in the UFC, bar none. She beat Vanessa Mello and Laura Proposio with a split decision. Okay. That's not very high level competition. It doesn't hold a candle to what Sarah McMahon is fighting. She dominated the now champion for 2 rounds, took her back. She was doing jiu-jitsu. She was wrestling. She was doing all these things. And you're right. She found a way to lose that fight, which was just so sad, man. That was just so sad. So my best advice, the only way that I could see, I would avoid this fight. If you really, 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 really like Carol Rosa, go ahead and take her. If you're sitting on the fence, I would avoid this completely because we just have never seen Carol Rosa on her back. Big thighs and Brazilian is just a bad combination. It sounds like 3 rounds of just laying on her back. And at least Juliana Pena tried to get up. She was doing things to make Sarah Mcmann tired. And then round 3, she's just gritty. And we saw that against Nunes. Um, I don't know that a Brazilian, man, it's just unknowns because she could pop right up and have this amazing fight IQ. But the other thing I noticed too, she's really flat footed. When you teach striking, we're always up on that back foot. We're ready to explode or ready to engage. And that way we can kind of move our head. But Carol Rosa, she's a cool striker because she's calm. And then she's going to just jab your face off. But that being said, she's super, super, super flat footed. And with the outside single legs that Sarah Mcmann does, she's going to pull that post leg right out. Now she doesn't have to blast double those heavy hips. She can just pull it right out. And now Carol Rosa's on her back. And then we're going to see a whole different game there. To me, this is a scary one to want to bet on, especially when you've seen the amount of women's underdogs. Elise Reed last week, right? When you see the amount of female underdogs that have been winning always, right? I would just avoid this one. That's just my best advice. If you love Rosa, go ahead and bet her.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's if you love somebody here, go for it. Otherwise, that is a risky one. Since I've taken up the last 500, we've got Neil Magny and Max Griffin coming up next. Give us your thoughts on that, and then I will
Oh,
see if
great. The one
mine.
that I just don't even know.
Hey, man, beggars can't be choosers.
Well, let's dive into this one a little bit. So first of all, Neil Magny, veteran of the game, he's ultra veteran. Has a lot of stuff to like and maybe a lot of stuff not to like. He's only really losing to the top guys in the division, and he's beating a lot of young prospects. He's beating a lot of good guys. I mean, Neil Magny is he's legit. He's been around a million times. Now, Max Griffin is 36 years old, and to me, these guys just do a lot of very similar things. Um, just a lot of very similar things. To me, I always kind of thought of like Max Griffin as like the dollar store Neil Magny, and it's not to say that he can't win this fight. I think he's definitely got more explosive wrestling, just off the jump. He's got good cardio. He moves well. His striking's probably more powerful. I love the jab of Neil Magny. I love the 1-2s. I love the way that he finds ways to win. Um, I think he can out grapple. I think he can out grapple Max Griffin, especially as it gets to rounds 2 and 3. He's going to put that pace on him, put him on the cage, take him down. I don't really have a lot to say on this one. I didn't spend near as much time as I needed to on this one, but I think Max Griffin has trouble with the height of Neil Magny, and Magny knows how to use it. And I like Magny to cruise here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think we've seen this fight a little bit, a little version of this in Jeff Neal. That was it. That was Magny's last fight. A good, strong, explosive, powerful boxer who's going to be in your
With better
face.
boxing than Max Griffin.
Yes, a lot better. Probably not as good of wrestling. Probably not as good of wrestling. I would say probably not as good of wrestling. Um, Max Griffin has worked on his cardio. He's had some cardio issues, a little bit slowing down earlier in his career, but I think he's worked on that. But Magny is a cardio machine. He lives in elevation. He lives in Denver. The thing with Magny is he's long. He knows how to fight long, but more than anything is he knows how to wrap you up. He knows how to close the distance and just hand fight and control people and hang on them. And I think that's going to be the difference here. Is I think he's going to touch and move. And the other thing is volume, man. His volume is really, really, really high. He throws a lot nonstop in your face. And then the second you try and swing back, he grabs you and wraps you up. And then he uses that height that he has to really hang on the tight clinch, grab the hands. He gets an overhook. He feeds the other hand to it. Almost kind of a la John Jones a little bit. Jones was generally a lot taller than a lot of his opponents, and he wouldn't always fight for an underhook. He would get an overhook a lot of the time, and then he would bundle those hands up and wrap those hands up and really control people in that clinch and hang on them. I think we see a very similar fight with Magny, and if Magny does get taken down, he does such a good job of getting back up. That he, it's funny because on the outside, of course, his volume is really high. but he's not swinging for the fences. But man, up against a fence, you take him down, he is going nonstop. He does not stop for a second, and he will push that grappling pace, which I think is going to wear on Griffin. And I think Magny gets the win here. And I like Max Griffin. I think he's tough. I just think Magny is just such a high level vet that he is just going to be a hard guy to beat unless you're that top 5, top 8, top 10 type of guy.
I agree. All right, what do we have next?
Mark
Let's see. All right,
Diakiese
this one is
and Slava. Go for it. I know you're drooling over this one.
Well, this one I've been so back and forth on this one, you know, and I didn't know if we wanted to say this at the beginning of the show or at the end of the show. I think it's really important. We need to know what you guys want from us. Do you guys want us to break down every single fight on a card, or do you guys want us to pick 4 or 5 spots, 6 spots that we really, really like and just do everything on those? Santino and I are both very, very busy. I mean, after this, I'm going to jump off and go look at PFL and, all the other promotions that are running this weekend, LFA, all this kind of stuff. So why don't you guys let us know in the comments? Do you guys think that that we should just choose 5 or 6 that we want to hone in on and really, really dive into? Or do you guys like the full card? Because we're not even betting 85% of these, or we're taking some kind of different angle on them. So it's honestly for you guys to help make your own decisions. And, you should never blindly tail 2 guys on the internet. Anyways, you wouldn't invest in a stock that way. You do your own research and make your decision based on your own opinions. But you guys let us know. Do you guys like how we do every single fight on every single card, or do you guys want us to hit the ones that we really like? Okay, now to the fight at hand. This one to me is one of those toss-up fights. I think there's unknowns here. Let's start with Slava. First of all, Slava has been rocked or dropped in every single fight ever. The one fight that really stuck out to me, I think I had $3,000, maybe $3,500 on a crazy parlay. Yeah, let's see. I think it was Titan. Slava was fighting Kendley St. Louis in Titan FC 70. And I remember almost shitting my pants because like 3 times in that fight, Slava almost lost, right? First round, he looks incredible, right? He's just doing all the Slava stuff, high guard, and he's pushing and pulling, and he's counter punching, hitting the body shots. And then round 2 comes and he gets beat within an inch of his life. And then he gets taken down and his back taken by Kendley St. Louis, who was 3-3 at the time. Can you imagine what that feels like to be holding a ticket for $3,500 for a guy who's a massive favorite, set up fight for him, and he's on Queer Street and got his back taken and taken down? I mean, it's just a horrible, horrible feeling, right? Then he goes on to fight Chris Duncan. I picked him in that fight also, made a lot of money on that one. That wasn't a great look either. He got rocked. He got taken down. He got dominated for a lot of that fight. And Chris Duncan is dumb. He just walks forward and said, all right, let's go. Let's do this thing. And then he gets his first setup fight in the UFC, Dakota Bush. We called that one a mile away, right? I mean, Dakota is not a great offensive wrestler. He gasses out pretty bad, and his striking is, if you want to say somebody's striking is basic, it's not Tom Aspinall, it's Dakota Bush. And I mean that in not the greatest way, right? It's very lazy. There's no setup. He got rocked in that fight too, and taken down in that fight too. So Mark Diakiese is by far his biggest test. I think he's athletic. He moves well. Does he have the greatest takedown defense? No, but is Slava going to be taking him down? I doubt it. I really wish that Diakiese had a better jab. If he had a better jab, I think that this is a fairly easy one. He does manage range well. And then the other part that I was struggling with is Mark Diakiese doesn't have a lot of volume. When he does throw, it's in these big flurries. But other than that, it spends a lot of time watching. I think a sharp play is another one of these over round and a half in this fight. But weirdly, I'm back on Mark Diakiese. I just think he's probably the better MMA fighter, right? You guys want to talk about how good Slava is, and he is good. I think his striking's fine. It's solid. But Mark Diakiese went 3 rounds with Khizriev and didn't get knocked out, who I think Khizriev is probably the best striker in the UFC. I mean, he's unbelievable. I think he's patient. I think he hits hard. I think he's athletic and he's fast, which is something that Dakota Bush and Chris Duncan were not. So, man, again, don't put this in anything crazy, but I kind of like Mark Diakiese for an upset here.
I agree with you. Now, again, I'm not shouting this from the rooftops, this comes down to you hit it on the head is distance management and range. Mark Diakiese manages range well, and Slava, for being a kickboxer, is actually not very good at range.
Yeah.
He's good in the pocket. Uh, if you look, I don't even know if this is true because a lot of these stats are kind of skewed. They have him listed as 69-inch reach. I mean, that's tiny. He's 5'10". I have a pretty long reach for my, height. I'm 5'10", and I have a 73.5-inch reach.
What about your arms?
You know, in Slava, so with the reach disadvantage like that, there's no way he's going to be a range fighter. That said, his pocket boxing is beautiful. I love his tight hand combinations, and he doesn't fire 2 punches, he fires 5. And generally, there's a hook to the body in there somewhere, almost Ilya Tupuria style. That hook to the body comes in, and that's where you put Dakota Bush
It's
down with,
beautiful.
and he is really, really, really good in the pocket. His takedowns are not great. His takedown defense is not great. He's doing better. He's at alpha male, so he's going to do well. He's going to be better and better and better. Now, Mark Diakiese took down Lando Venata a couple of
A
times,
lot.
and defended, and Khizriev took him down, and he got back up. I mean, like, Diakiese, I mean, that Lando fight was really impressive. And yeah, he was a lot bigger than Lando. He was taller. Lando ended up dropping
But
down
look
afterwards.
at what Lando's doing to Mike Grundy and all these other people
Yeah,
now. It's insane.
it really, I think Diakiese's overall MMA experience is just so much higher. And he tends to lose to these really dynamic people. Um, Khizriev in his last fight with Alves, who went out there, threw a crazy wild
Blitzed him.
flying knee,
Yeah.
blitzed him. Khizriev, who's just so good. But Khizriev is so good. He's durable. His striking is amazing, and his wrestling is amazing, and he's dynamic. It's like, all right, like this dude just is the second coming of freaking MMA Christ over here. And yeah, I like Diakiese here. I like Diakiese. I think if Slava does get inside, man, I think he has a good. It's weird to say Slava has a puncher's chance, but Slava has like a pocket puncher's chance on the inside to really go to work. But Diakiese, I mean, man, I like his range, and if he can keep that range, I think he can win the striking battle. And I think if he wants to turn this into a grappling affair, I think he easily wins a grappling contest.
It must be really unnerving for Slava to go to battle and have that style and have the chin that he does. And I don't even know if it's a bad chin, more so just a willingness to fight, right? He's trying to kill whoever he's going against, and then he's getting tagged with shots he doesn't see, and he's getting rocked every single fight. I mean, there's no reason that Dakota Bush is clipping him. You think that Dakota Bush is a much better striker than Diakiese? I don't think so. There's just no reason for it, and it must be really unnerving knowing like, okay, I'm at my way to win this is I got to go outbox this guy and punch this guy, and I might get sat on my butt a few times doing it, but here we go. And I was like thinking about it. He just kind of burns the candle at both ends. He puts so much output and energy, and he's shown good cardio in the past. I mean, his fight with Will Starks was a good showcase of his cardio and his stand-ups and a lot of the things that you want to see. But his last few fights have just been him just giving everything he has. And I almost, it's kind of like my opposite view of Dvorak. I kind of like how slow Diakiese is. He moves well. He's got really good taekwondo kicks and good range, but I like that he does nothing for a little bit because his unwillingness to engage is gonna piss Slava off. Like, because Slava does the best when people are trying to murder him and swing and catch him.
Yeah,
So
I like it. I like it. Let's move on. We've got this is one of those fights I'm not calling. All right, I'm going to say it right now. Alexei Oleinik and Ilir Latifi.
can we skip this one?
No, we've got to talk about this one because this is the most confusing freaking fight the world has ever seen. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it. And if you guys want to skip this one, skip it because really what we're getting at is there's no freaking play here because it's so unpredictable, and you don't really want to bet a bad fighter. And both of these guys, I mean, they're good fighters, but they're bad betting fighters. So we're not being critical of their overall fighting skills. We're being critical of, you don't bet people that have these qualities because they're too inconsistent.
Super old or pull
Yeah,
guard or
they're so old.
cardio.
You got one of them that pulls guard. I mean, you got both of them who kind of gas. I mean, this is a really weird one. Before you watch tape, you think Alir Latifi runs away with this. All right, the wrestler, the guy who's a little bit more durable, a little bit more willing to trade, to the guy who's like 78, pulls guard and finishes people from the mount. But if you actually look at
From
Oleinik,
bottom mount.
yeah, from bottom mount, exactly. If you look at Oleinik, he throws these big. He has a huge reach. It's like 80-something inch reach, and he throws these long overhands on both sides with his head down. But people can't hit him because he's so much longer than them that even though his head is down, they're still a foot away. And Alir Latifi is short. He throws this weird jabby check hook kind of thing. His right hand isn't even a right hand. It's not an overhand. It's not a power shot. It's like a rock'em sock'em punching up at a weird, funny angle right hand. So it's not like he's in there just trying to knock people's heads off. He kind of backs up and doesn't do a lot standing until he finally gets the takedown and, will control. He did that well against Derek Lewis. Got the takedown. I actually thought he beat Derek Lewis. Maybe. I mean, he got the takedowns, and I don't know. It was a very close fight, but he looked good there. And his cardio actually didn't look bad there. His cardio generally looks bad in other fights, but against Lewis, it didn't look as bad. That said, if he stays on the outside and backs up, I mean, Oleinik will just swing, and I don't think Oleinik's going to knock him out, but just looping punches is going to do something. I mean, Oleinik took Spivak down. I mean, I thought that was a really close fight. I thought Oleinik might have won that fight.
I did too.
It was very close. And he went in, shot in, took Spivak's back, pulled him on top of him. Just honestly, as bad a fight IQ as Oleinik has to pull guard and to pull mount,
he's crafty, man.
He's crafty. And so you see a guy like that, and then you look at Alir. His path to victory is getting a takedown, getting on top. And at that point, does he try and engage Oleinik in a grappling affair where Oleinik can pull, wiggle and worm and attack some weird stuff and get him off balance and get him tired? I mean, this call, you guys, if you want to bet this fight, go for it. I wouldn't touch it. I'm not going to make a call on it. I just kind of wanted to talk about how weird it was and just talk about some of these guys' skill sets. Because on paper, you think Alir Latifi sprawls and brawls or gets on top and ground and pounds. But if you really, really go skill set for skill set, I mean, instead of thinking about this fight, if you for some reason want to bet it, grab a coin, flip it.
Just send me the money instead.
Yeah. Either send us the money or grab a coin and flip it. And whatever heads or tails, that's your answer right there. Because calling a winner on this one is going to be pretty hard.
Well, that's one path to victory, right? Is Alir takes him down. Everyone's talking about he has no neck. He has no neck. The no neck thing is great. You guys are right. It's really, really tough to get guillotined when you got no neck. The problem is that Alexei Oleinik finds his way on top a lot of times, and then he hits that what is that? The scarf hold, headlock, like whatever it is. I don't even know what it's called.
It's a JV.
When you have no
pin.
neck. Yeah. When you have no neck and somebody does that to you, that means your nose is right in your arms. You can't breathe. You're a big, fat heavyweight anyways. Honestly, the way I could see this going down is Alir takes him down, and then they're fighting on the ground, and Alexei's throwing back fist from his back. And then round 2, Alir starts to get a little bit tired, and he can't get this Russian bear down. And then all of a sudden, Alexei ends up on top, and he throws up that little neck crank. And it's not even because, well, I'm sure it hurts a lot, but it's not even because it hurts. But Alir is so freaking gassed and wants out of that so badly. He has no other choice but to tap. So it's just like too bad cardio, too old guys, too fat. Not even that Alexei's fat. Alir is fat. But Alexei does a lot of like stupid things and he makes it work for him. So there's just so much madness. And I would love to say, okay, well, fight does not go the distance is the play, but I could see it going the distance also. So I think this is Chernobyl, this fight. And you know what's really interesting about Alexei Oleinik is he was born in Ukraine and lived in Russia his whole life. So what do we do with him after if he loses? What side of the fence do we put him
Where do
on?
we put him? Um, the other thing we saw Verdum and Oleinik, just two old men standing there tired, staring at each other.
Oh my God.
I mean, do you remember that? And I think that could be this fight a lot. You get two old, tired men. Once the sweat factor comes in, it's a slip and slide. It's like who is sliding around and finding their way on top. Um, avoid
That
it.
Verdum fight was really impressive.
Gosh, it's
Jesus.
crazy. But anyway, that's I had to talk about this because it was just such a weird fight to analyze and to break down and to look at because there's so many just bad areas on both these guys. And honestly, like Oleinik, at least he knows how to win and he knows how he's going to win. Alir, I think he's a little confused sometimes. Is he a striker? Is he a wrestler? Is he what? But anyway, that's that. Next up, we've got Askarov, Kai Kara France. Um, I'll give you this one because you've gotten the short end of the sticks on a few of these, and then I'll go. I don't even know who's next, but I'll kick
Was
off.
that a flyweight joke?
Actually, yeah. Let's hear what you have to say about Kai Kara France and Askarov.
I think Kai's good, man. I'm really surprised somebody that has that much power and just that much solid fundamental boxing. That being said, this is another tough one for me, and I know everyone's gonna scream Askarov, Askarov, and I'm like, yes, I understand that because the path to victory here is obviously it's suffocating him. We saw Bontarine just toss him on his head. We saw Royval do some things grappling to him. We've seen a lot of guys do that um, to Kai Kara France. And I absolutely think that happens in this fight. I think that what is his name? Askarov?
Askarov.
I, gosh. And then there's Asker, and the elephant, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Askarov. I absolutely think that Askarov gets a hold of him and just dag rides him, drowns him, takes his back, and beats him up, submits him. I absolutely think the fight goes that way. I just am not a huge fan of Askarov's striking. Uh, he like fake manages distance well. He's in and out, but he's always going straight back when he does that. And he's constantly getting hit by punches. It's not like he exits beautifully with his hands up and nothing's really touching him, or he's like Adesanya where he's, slipping and moving. A lot of times he just, someone swings hard at him and he takes two big steps back and he still gets hit. And that part really bothers me with a guy like Kai Kara France, who the city kickboxing guys, I think all they train is stand ups and striking. Like get taken down, let's stand back up, which I think is very, very smart. I think the don't overthink it play here is that Askarov drowns him. I mean, we're flyweights at the end of the day. We don't hit very hard. The fact that Kai Kara France has so many knockouts is absolutely insane. But you want to look at the knockouts. Sorry, let me pull up his record.
There aren't that many knockouts. There's two.
Oh, you're right. And it was his last two fights against already chinny and cutting weight Cody Garbrandt. And then Bontarine, who dominated him. And then Bontarine kept his head down, got uppercutted, and didn't move his head again. Just stood there like a fire hydrant while Kai teed off on him. So yeah, now that you said that, I didn't even look at that. I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Askarov. And I think Askarov has so many more ways to win. Just grind.
Yeah, I think you said it with his striking. Kai Kara France's striking is really, really good. It is really clean. I really like it. He hits hard. I mean, honestly, he does all of the stuff right striking. What he does wrong striking is just willingness to just trade and throw and swing. He's a little over aggressive. He's too down to just fight, which gets him caught, which gets him clipped. We saw it with Brandon Royval, that whole affair. I actually disagree with you on the Askarov thing on the striking. Not that I think he's some world beater striker. I think he's clean. He's long. He knows what he does. I think he's fine. What I really like with him is he makes people think that he's going to fight them. And he will touch them and move, and he touches them and move. And then they get a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more comfortable. And then he swings and he's like, we are throwing down. And then he moves away. They swing back and he goes underneath him and wraps him up. And he does that so well in all of his fights. He gets people thinking that he is going to swing with them, and boom, goes right underneath every time. What's most impressive about Askarov with me is he can wrestle hard for 15 minutes and not get tired. His ability to go at that pace is insane. And we saw it with Pantoja, and Pantoja is phenomenal. Pantoja's jiu-jitsu is
An
phenomenal.
incredible scrambler. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's how Askarov wins. I think outside of something early in the first half of the round, something wild and dynamic from Kai, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, man, I think Askarov drowns him with that grappling. And, I don't know that he maybe gets the finish. I don't know if he does or not, but I like Askarov for the win here. I think his grappling is just so good. And he's just so calm. He's so calm. They've talked a lot before. He was born deaf, so he really doesn't have a lot of hearing, which I think helps him. It probably calms him down and keeps him relaxed. And, there's no crowd noise or something kind of get his adrenaline going. I like Askarov here. I think his wrestling drowns him. Does he get the finish? I don't know. But I definitely like him for the win.
He won't be able to hear all the fat people booing him as he rides to a decision.
All right, we got Matt Brown, Brian Barberena. This is another fight that I don't think I can give a really good pick. And, Matt Brown is 23-18. This dude is almost 500 at this point in his career. He's 41 years old. He won his last fight against Diego Lima, who, kind of didn't really do a lot, but kind of ran lateral movement left and right. Lost to Carlos Canet, lost to Miguel Baeza. Had some decent moments in that first round. Beat Ben Saunders, beat Diego Sanchez. I don't know if either of those fights carry any weight anymore. And then he lost 3 straight before that. On the other side of that, we have Brian Barberena, who, let's see, his overall record is 16-8. Beat Darian Weeks, who just looked too green to be in there, I think, at this
Darian's
point.
solid, though. He's solid, tough guy.
Yeah, but he just looked nervous. He was very flinchy. He was getting hit and kind of covering up. He just didn't look ready. He's not bad. He just didn't look ready. He lost to Jason Witt, who I think is on. I can't even. I mean, Jason Witt dropped him 2 or 3 times. That I thought was insane that was able to occur.
But Jason Witt hits hard. He just can't get hit hard.
Yeah. Anthony Ivy, he beat, and then he lost to Randy Brown, who's solid. Randy Brown is solid, and then Vicente Luque. Now, the thing with Brian Barberena is he's coming off of surgeries. He's not in Arizona anymore. He's back in, I believe, Tennessee or North Carolina training, kind of doing his own thing in his own gym. I think those surgeries have taken a lot from him. He tends to back up and kind of back up. Almost everything that he has is that left hand, that straight left. He does throw a really good inside leg kick as a southpaw, and he'll do that. He gets people off balance. He does that well. He is another guy who's very inactive, who just kind of moves away until he just full on explodes into almost just close your eyes, duck down, swing your hands. His wrestling is almost non-existent on both the offensive and the defensive level at this point, which is just weird for a guy with as many fights as he has, training at the MMA lab for as long as he has, and just seeing him. It's almost like before he was trying to win fights, and now he's just trying to get a fight of the night bonus. It's almost like I feel like that's what happened is he just stopped trying to win fights, and now he's just trying to get a bonus. And then on the other side of that, we have Matt Brown, who is kind of the same way, just there. But I think he's a lot more calculated. I think Matt Brown is a lot more technical. I think he is. His last fight with Diego Lima, I mean, Diego did not look great, but Matt Brown did look good. He looked sharp. He looked patient. He picked Lima apart. He stalked him. He wasn't wild. He wasn't sloppy. Um, and I really I like Matt Brown. I like his elbows. I like he catches kicks, he throws his elbows, he clinches, he throws elbows. He's relatively clean. I think he's actually gotten cleaner over the years and less of a brawler. He's durable in the sense of like cardio, grappling stuff, but he's 41 and that chin is not up to par. And so I think you've got the more technical savvy Matt Brown with so many more tools to win. And then on the other side of that, you just have a little bit young. But honestly, Barberena's a little chinny though too. But he'll just swing and go to town with some of those punches. And I think this is a whose chin. I think if chin wasn't an issue, I think Matt Brown wins this every day of the week. With the chin issues that we have, I think it's whose chin holds up better. Gun to my head, I'm saying Matt Brown has more ways to win. I think it's a smarter bet. But man, at 41 and with the mileage and the chin that he has, I say stay the hell away from this. On a win, I say this fight does not go the distance. Um, Matt Brown, he has had one fight go the distance since 2015. All right, one fight, you guys. And that was a decision loss to Carlos Condit, who is a shell of who he used to be in terms of output and finishing power. Um, Barberena, he's kind of, his last few fights are all decisions. But man, when he loses, it is by KO or TKO. And I don't think the fight goes a distance. I think these guys aren't fighting for wins anymore, and they're just swinging.
I don't even think we need to spend much time because you said it exactly how I think it. I mean, I think Matt Brown's striking is much just more solid. It's less loopy, crazy, pretend. It's just more like it's got some oomph behind it. I think he's got straighter punches, cleaner punches. He's probably a better wrestler. This is his hometown. This is all signs point to Matt Brown, but age and chin. That's the 1-2 combo, and that is the undoing of a lot of fighters who are better. So I like your play here. It doesn't go the distance. I've seen some good odds on that. I think that's a great play. I'm probably just going to sit this one out altogether.
Not a bad idea. And then we've got Joanne Wood and Alexa Grasso. You kick this one off because I did not watch tape on this. I've seen both of them fight numerous times. Alexa's come and trained with us, a little bit in the past. Solid boxer, good clean jab, manages distance well. Um, really, honestly, like just a solid fighter. And then Joanne Wood, who, I hate to put a gym down. She trains at Syndicate,
Do it.
and I just don't see I don't know. I don't know what's missing from Syndicate. I feel like they probably have a lot of really good training partners, and they're in there just getting work. But I'm not sure if it's a coaching thing or a strategy thing or watching film thing or what. But I feel like a lot of the people coming out of Syndicate are just kind of doing whatever they do, and if it works, great, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Whereas I think Alexa is a little bit more strategic in her fighting. She knows how she's going to win a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. This is actually one I didn't tape, guys. So you can take my opinion on this fight and you can crumple it up and light it on fire. But just from what I remember, I've taped Joanne Wood a lot. I actually lost money on her in the last fight against Tyla Santos because I just thought it was going to go over a round. And man, was I disappointed. We talk about it. Age doesn't matter as much with women, but she's 36. I don't think she's super well coached. She's 15-7. Now, the things that I do like about her is she's high volume. She throws a lot of kicks and punches. She gets a lot in the weight. She's a decent striker. I think she's a decent striker and just gets a lot of volume. I like Alexa Grasso. I think this is a great showcase fight for her. Joanne at least is a name in the division. She's been around a long time. The UFC likes Alexa. She's cute. She's a fun fighter. She always comes to sling. And I think if she's losing, she's just going to push the pace. She's going to try to drown her with the boxing. She's going to press her. She's slick and clean. Again, I didn't do much tape I didn't do any tape for this one. No new tape, I should say. I like Alexa Grasso a lot. I called her as a dog in whatever fight that was where nobody thought she would win.
Macy
Um,
Barber.
let's see, what fight was that? Yeah, it was Macy
Macy
Barber.
Barber.
Everyone thought Macy was going to bully her, and I said I like Alexa Grasso a lot here. I think she wins, and I don't think this one's any different.
Yeah, and Alexa, she's actually just getting better and better and better. I think this is a Joanne is on her way out, and I think Alexa is on her way up. Exactly.
Yep.
Yep, that's it. Honestly, it's the passing of the garb. That's it, or changing of the garb, whatever it is.
And I'll be honest. There's been a lot of good events this year. That's probably the best co-main event that I've seen so far.
All right. Well, we've got our main event
All right,
coming
what do we got
up.
next?
Curtis Blaydes, Chris Daukaus. Why don't you tell us about Blaydes, what he does well? I'll talk about what Chris Daukaus does well, and we'll kind of go from there.
I like everything about Curtis Blaydes. I just like everything about Curtis Blaydes. I think he's got, man, he just has everything that you look for. I think his distance management is actually solid. When he wants to strike, I think his boxing is clean. He does everything well for a heavyweight that you could. I think it's funny. Like I'm pretty sure it was Daniel Cormier always talking about like, dude, Curtis Blaydes could be the UFC champion. Like he could be the heavyweight champion. He's got all the tools to do it. And there's something there that's blocking him from doing it. I don't know if it's a mental lapse. I don't know if it's just bad luck, what it is, but he's got all the tools necessary to be that guy. I think he's a phenomenal wrestler. I think he's got insane cardio for not only how he fights, but how big he is and the 5-round fights. He's just insane. I love Curtis Blaydes. To me, I think this fight's a don't overthink it. I think Curtis is better everywhere. Hands, wrestling. I think Daukaus is a jiu-jitsu black belt, but everyone was so mad at me saying jiu-jitsu is fake. Guys, I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and I've been training for 11 years. Like, obviously, I'm kidding. But in MMA, I mean, sometimes I'm not kidding. Sometimes jiu-jitsu is fake, phony, doesn't exist. I like Curtis Blaydes.
Yeah, I mean, on the other side of that, we have Daukaus, who Daukaus is fast. He has good, fast hands. The thing that impresses me most about Daukaus is when he lands a punch, he throws 3 more punches. A lot of times, somebody lands a good, clean punch, they set back, they kind of reset, they don't know, okay, where are we at next? Daukaus throwing 3 more. He is in the pocket. He is firing well. Again, the issue with Daukaus is, I mean, one, we haven't seen too much of his wrestling. We haven't seen too much of his like anybody really grinding on him and throwing his ass down and like getting in his face and shoving him.
You know what? I think there was a fight that we have actually seen that, and I could be totally off on this one, guys, but I think it was pre-UFC. It was against Azuna and Yawanu, who I'm pretty sure
No,
he's
that was
40 years old now.
yeah. I mean, that
And
was ended up that was a striking battle. He pushed him up against the fence a little bit, and then he ended up, Daukaus almost knocked him out. Kind of
I
gassed
thought he took
himself
him
out.
down and was beating him up.
He gassed himself out, and then the second round, Azuna blah 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 came in and kind of put it on him. But the thing with Daukaus wants a firefight. If you exchange with Daukaus, man, you give him a really good shot at catching you with those 3, 4, 27 punch combos and going. He's light on his feet. He moves in and out well, and sharpshoots. He is very accurate. I mean, almost looks like he changes his target mid punch. Like if your head is moving a little bit to the left, that his hand is going to find it versus just throwing wherever ahead of time. The issue with Daukaus and the issue with his style is when you don't engage him, he doesn't really know what to do. We saw that in his last fight. Who the hell was his last fight? Not with Lewis, but right before that.
Derek Lewis.
No, right before that with Shamil.
Shamil.
Abdurakhimov. Abdura did not engage a lot, and Daukaus didn't. Like when you're just there swinging, we saw it with his early fights. Parker Porter, who the hell else did he fight right after that? Oleinik, yeah, Oleinik going in trying to go. But what Daukaus did well in that Oleinik fight was he really had a sense of urgency to get off the cage to move. Daukaus is smart. He's got a good fight IQ. He knows
Smart guy.
He knows how he's going to win. He's fast. Curtis dictates range so well. He uses his jab. When people come in, he moves away. He switches stances and then jabs, switches stances back and then jabs. Really does a good job of drawing people in, and then he shoots underneath them. I think he's going to do that. I think he's going to nullify Daukaus's offense by not throwing a lot of offense of his own. I think people have said Curtis is kind of chinny in the past. Why? Because he's been knocked out by Ngannou and Derek Lewis. I mean, rhinoceroses have been knocked out by Ngannou and Derek Lewis, and in his fight against Rosenstruck right afterwards, in his last fight, he took a flying knee from the depths of Mordor and took it, wore it on the chin, finished his takedown, and kept going. I mean, I don't think he has a chin issue. I think he has not even a comfort level of getting punched. I just don't think he wears it well. I think when he gets hit, he kind of looks worse. He moves his head. He kind of flares around a little bit, and not a horrible amount, but just enough to where I don't think he is comfortable getting hit. And I think people over exaggerate his chin and his unwillingness to get hit. You said it, man. I think he has all the tools to be a champion. And, if he can get by the Derek Lewises and the Ngannous, I think we're going to see him fight for a title someday.
All right, I think that does it for another episode, and we did it in record time, only an hour and 40 minutes.
Done. We're getting efficient with this. You guys, somebody made a comment. They were like, "You guys talk too much. Just get to the picks." You guys, we're here for the talking, not the picks. I mean, we're here. You guys want the picks, and sometimes of course, we're going to give you our thoughts on it, but we are analyzing the fights and giving you guys as much information as you need. Brandon said it earlier. Don't just tail two guys on the internet. Like, take our picks into consideration and look at our analysis, and then you have to use that to decide if that corresponds with your
agree with it, don't agree with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is it, man. So again, check out our Patreon. We love you guys. We love the Discord. We've got NHL threads, NASCAR threads, freaking stock thread, all the good fun stuff. And Brandon, you're not going to sleep. You're going to go watch some PFL and Cage Warriors and Titan and CFFC and LFA.
We got Josh Wayne Kim this week.
Oof, Josh Wayne Kim. You guys, Josh Kim, freaking amazing. Bet everything you have on him. I don't even know who he's fighting. I don't even know who he's fighting. So you guys, I'm joking about that.
Some dirty Mexican.
Man, Brandon's. You need to qualify that, Brandon, with your Mexican. So,
I'm Mexican. Look, guys, I got tattoos now. I'm all Mexicaned up. I'm in.
Don't think he's a white guy saying that, you guys. So just I would never say something ridiculous like that. But Brandon's trying to piss off the world.
At least
today.
Not on camera.
Oh my gosh, you're on one today. You're trying to
just Ohio. My family's from Ohio. I could say that.
You're trying to make some enemies. Anyway, you guys. So again, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Check out the Patreon. Josh Wayne Kim. If you don't know him, he is a phenomenal fighter. I have no idea who he's fighting, but I'm sure he's going to do great because he's freaking Josh Wayne Kim. Other than that, guys, we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Peace.